Yeah, I'm ready. Like I said, I can. I got it. Yeah, thank you, sir. That's awesome. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good. Everyone having a good week? Okay. Awesome. Me too. So this is session four. It's session four of Meditation 101. Um, Anybody who's here for the first time? Okay. Oh, welcome, welcome. Is this your first time at Kadampa Center? Great. Welcome. Excellent. So this is session four of Meditation 101 class. My name's Scott. I'm going to be leading the class. Um, Totally fine if do you guys, those who are here for the first time, do you have any, like, how many of you have practiced meditation before, taken a meditation class, anything like that? Okay. So totally fine if you are totally new. That's what this class is for. And there are some things that we've talked about already, some things we've practiced already, but you can jump right in. You know, it's not really a, also, our recordings of the classes are available on the website, kadampa-center.org, and also handouts of the meditations that we do. So if you're interested in what we've done in the last 3 weeks, you can go to our website and go to the recordings and download the recording. We'll just look for Meditation 101, and you'll see, and you can download the recordings and hear what we've done before. Some of the preliminary explanations and some of the, basic explanations for things and definitions. But we're going to do a review here at the beginning anyway, so we'll have a chance to do that. I think it's really nice. A nice way to start things off is just saying hello to the people around you. So if you're sitting near someone new who you haven't met yet, say hello. If you're sitting next to someone you've met before, say hello. And okay. A few housekeeping things since we have a few people who are new. The restrooms are out there and to the left. We're not formal here at all. Get up if you need to, and you're welcome to come in and out. The one thing that I ask, and I encourage in between the meditations, if we've been sitting here for 10 or 15 minutes meditating, I encourage you to get up and move around a little bit and get the blood flowing again. That's kind of nice. The one thing I ask people to do is turn your cell phones off, or I put mine on airplane mode. Obviously, if you have a child at home or something and you need to be accessible, you need to look at texts if they come in or something, that's okay. But I encourage everybody to set your cell phones to meditate so they don't make any noise at all. We have some handouts too. If you are here for the first time, on the little table in the back, you can grab one on the way out if you want, or now, whatever you like. But just some basic information about this class and about Kadampa Center that I shared on the first night that we have it printed out if you'd like to take it. If you're sitting in a chair, it's really nice to have, so whether you sit in a chair or on a cushion is really up to you. The important thing is to be comfortable. So if you want to try sitting on a cushion, if you haven't done that before and you want to try it, go ahead. If you're sitting on a cushion and you find it's uncomfortable, sit in a chair. If you are sitting in a chair, it's nice to have, or you should have your feet resting flat on something. So if your feet rest flat on the ground, that's great. If your feet don't rest flat on the ground, then you can grab a cushion and put a cushion under your feet. That's why we have the cushions around, so that your feet are resting flat on something. All right, and we're going to start with just a brief meditation. We'll do a little bit of a guided meditation. And again, if this is totally new to you, we're going to talk a little bit in a little while about like the purpose of meditation and why we do this. But so this may be a little different for you, or maybe different from what, if you've done some meditation before, it may be different from what you've done before. That's okay. This is just, a certain type of meditation that we do here. So we'll start by sitting in a comfortable position. And if you're sitting on a cushion, then, however you want to sit is comfortable for you. If you're sitting in a chair, try to not lean back against the chair or slouch back against the chair. The most important thing, whether you're in a chair or on a cushion, is to have your back straight. So kind of like, one image that I think is really helpful is if you think or imagine that somebody's like you're a puppet and you have a string coming out of the top of your head and you're lifting up, somebody's lifting up on that string. We have trains going by every once in a while to help us practice concentration and ignoring distractions. So yeah, sitting up straight, that's the most important thing. Have your back straight, shoulders back a little bit, not like way rigid back, but just comfortably. Just sit up straight, not really rigid but straight. Sometimes I say it's like imagine you're having your picture taken, right? You're gonna sit up straight and look good for the picture. So what we're going to do now is what's called a 9-round breathing meditation. And we practiced this before. If this is totally new for you, that's fine. If you were here before and you remember the 7-point meditation posture, think about that a little bit. So think about your legs, sitting with your legs in a comfortable position. Arms. For the 9-round breathing, most meditations we do in this tradition, you have your hands facing upward, your right hand resting in your left hand with your palms facing up and your thumbs just gently touching. Then you just let your hands rest in your lap. For the 9-round breathing that we're going to do first, you're going to have your hands on your knees. That's generally what we do for 9-round breathing, just have your hands resting on your knees. Again, make sure your back is straight. You can have your eyes open or closed. If you have them open, it's nice to just have them gently open, not really focused on anything. Just open a little bit to let some light in. And your gaze is kind of directed, in the ground out about 6 feet in front of you. You have your jaw and mouth relaxed. Your teeth slightly apart, not clenched. Your lips together. And it helps to take your tongue and just rest the tip of your tongue against the roof of your mouth right behind your front teeth. That helps reduce the need, like you're going to say, except with the tip of your tongue right against the roof of your mouth. That helps reduce the need to swallow. And then your head in a comfortable position that naturally directs your gaze out towards the ground, out in front of you, about 6 feet in front of you. So for the 9-round breathing, we're going to start by taking your left hand, your ring finger of your left hand, and you're going to, I'll just do this once to remind everybody. You close off your left nostril and breathe in long, slow breath through your right nostril. And then you close off your right nostril and a long, slow breath out through your left nostril. So do that 3 times. And then you do the same thing with your right hand. You close off with your right ring finger, close off your right nostril. Long, slow breath in through your left nostril. Then close off your left nostril, long, slow breath out through your right nostril. And do that 3 times. And then in and out through both nostrils 3 times. So we'll do that one more time, all 3, starting with your left hand, closing your left nostril. So once you've done that, we're going to do just a few minutes of silent meditation. And if you've never done any meditation before, I'll give you something to work on or something to practice if you're not really sure what to do. For everyone else, if you have a meditation that we've been practicing that you want to think about or you want to go through silently on your own, you can go ahead and do that. For those who are new and just starting out with this, if you want, just sit and notice your breath. Just breathe naturally through your nose. Notice your breath. You might notice your chest, your shoulders rising and falling. You might notice your abdomen expanding and contracting. Maybe you notice the breath passing in and out through your nose. So just take a moment to notice. You're not trying to breathe now, this time. You're not trying to breathe any certain way, not long, slow breaths or anything like that. You're just breathing naturally and noticing the breath. And go ahead and set a positive motivation for this meditation session that we're about to do. Think that being here, meditating, doing something that, possibly learning something new, doing something beneficial for yourself, may help you be a benefit to others too. We try to expand that out and think about how practicing this meditation may help you be a benefit to all beings, all sentient beings, all living beings. So let your attention rest right at the tip of your nose and just notice the air passing in and out. As you breathe out and then in, you might notice the small hairs of your nostrils move. You might notice cooler sensations as you breathe in and warmer sensations as you breathe out. So just notice the air passing out and in. Don't follow the air into your body or out into the surrounding environment. Just try to keep your attention right there at the tip of your nose, right there at the openings of your nostrils, observing the air as it passes in and out. If you've been with us for the last couple sessions and you find that counting is helpful, you can do that. As you breathe out and then in, count 1. Out again, then in again, count 2. You can count to 10 and start over again at 1. Or you can just sit and focus your attention on the breath, out and then in, noticing each breath as it passes without counting. So always remember as we do this that distractions are normal. If you find yourself distracted by a sound, maybe a sound in the room or a sound outside, or if you find yourself distracted by a thought, maybe you find yourself, instead of focusing on your breath, you find yourself thinking about something that happened earlier today or something that you'll do later on tonight or tomorrow, that's totally fine. That's what happens when we're practicing this. What's important is that when you notice, you just calmly, without any further discussion with yourself about it, bring your attention gently back to the tip of your nose, to the point, the object of meditation, and continue counting. Start over again at 1 if you were counting. If you weren't counting, then just resume focusing on the breath passing out and in. So as we start to bring the meditation to a close, think about dedicating any positive energy, any merit that you've created by practicing this particular meditation. Any benefit from this. Think about dedicating it to the benefit of all sentient beings, all living beings. Think about how taking a little bit of time out of your day to practice something like this, to help yourself be a calmer, more focused person, is allowing you to be of greater benefit to others as well. And when you're ready, bring your attention back to the room. All right. So, did anybody have a chance to practice this week? Practice some meditation? Yeah? How'd it go? Okay. Any observations, any challenges, anything that was interesting or you enjoyed about it? Anybody want to share? You don't have to. Maybe it was just like, no, I tried it. It was okay. But if anybody wants to share anything or has any questions, now's an opportunity to do that. Yeah. Can we have a microphone? for those who are just new, we use the microphone because we record these sessions. That way, like I said earlier, if you want to go back and listen to the previous sessions, you can do that. And if we don't use the microphone, then when somebody's talking or asks a question, you're going to have no idea what they're saying because you won't be able to hear them. So it's nice for you or for other people when you go back to listen to the recordings to use the mic. That's why we do it. So, what do you say?
I've been having terrible difficulty trying to find a position and place.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's got a green light. Okay. I can't find a position and a place where it's comfortable for me to do it, where it's not putting too much strain on my back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just this last week that I discovered what I think is the perfect place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sitting up actually in bed on a very thick cushion with my legs crossed.
Mm-hmm.
And right where my feet cross, my little cat comes and curls up.
Awesome.
So it's perfect.
That's perfect. That's something to experiment with. Is you said sitting on a really like high cushion. That's definitely something that you can experiment with. Sometimes in the past I've sat on like 2 of these cushions instead of just one. And so the idea is it is nice to be sitting on a cushion because it raises your butt up higher than your feet, which is more comfortable, but it also helps you keep your back straight. So yeah, definitely don't if you're sitting and you're not comfortable, then experiment a little bit, figure out what's going to be comfortable, because that's the foundation for it, the basis to be able to sit comfortably. Excellent. I'm glad you found something. That's great. Thank you. Anybody else? Anything else? Okay. So, and it's kind of open, like I've said a few times, we're not real formal here at Kadampa Center, and especially not when I'm leading the class. So if you have a question or you remember something or anything comes up at any point, you can kind of interrupt and throw out a question or a comment or share something if you want. That's totally fine. Chris. Yes, sir.
I have noticed that that 9-round breathing, I connect with that really well. It really does help to do what they say it's going to do. And I think it's that you're, all the physical stuff you do, even though it's kind of goofy, but it just, you're doing something more than just counting, it's like physical things. And I know all the position, everything is physical too, but for some reason 9-round breathing really does clear out bad energy when I do it.
Good.
Very well.
And sometimes, like you said, having more to do, like the actual physical parts of it, is that might be what as you said that you really connect with it. I was thinking, because I do too. It really works well for me, and that may be it. It just gives me a little bit more to do. Something to do with my hands also. There's actually a little bit more of an elaborate visualization that you can do. It's like anything else, like a lot of these other meditations. There's the basic thing that you can just start with, and then there are a little bit more elaborate ways to do it. Like you can visualize. So when we talk about the 9-round breathing, when the Tibetan monks and scholars and people who've been studying this for a very long time talk about it, it's related to energy channels in the body, which a lot of Asian medicine, traditional medicine talks about. So like if you go to acupuncture, that's what they're doing. They're working with these energy channels in the body. And so what it's doing, the purpose is to clear out waste energy, which we get because our minds tend to be very scattered. We don't really focus on one thing at a time. We got bunches of different things happening quickly back and forth. And then also negative thoughts, produce this waste energy inside of our bodies. So, I don't know if the channels are physical or non-physical. I think we asked Geshe Gelik that one time, and he said he wasn't sure, I think. But anyway, the idea is, so like in accordance with these traditional Asian medicine practices and philosophy, is we have these energy channels in our body, and you're trying to clear those energy channels out with the 9-round breathing. Or you can think of it as just, clearing stress. But so you can actually visualize, you can do this visualization where you visualize the central channel, which is blue in color. It's about the size of a straw, so very thin. Imagine this very thin channel that starts right here, just at your forehead, and goes back up towards the crown of your head and then down and just about 2 inches below your navel, or 2 fingers below your navel, I think. And then there's another channel, so that's the blue one, that's the central channel. And then there's another red channel that goes kind of from the same place, right next to, and a little bit thinner channel, red one that goes right next to the central one on the right side, and then a white one that goes on the left side right next to the central channel. So these are these energy channels that they say exist in your body. And so you can visualize those, and as you do the 9-round breathing, like as you do the first part and breathe in through your right nostril, you can imagine that you're breathing in through the right energy channel. And all the channels meet, like I think it's 2 or 3 fingers below your navel. And imagine you're breathing into that channel, and then as you change your hand and you close off your right nostril and breathe out, imagine that you're breathing out through the blue channel, the left channel. And so so you switch back and forth. When you're doing it with your right hand, closing off your right nostril, you imagine you're breathing in through the left channel and then out through the right channel. So you can get much more elaborate with it. You can imagine that you're breathing in positive energy. Imagine you have all this positive energy coming into your body, like this bright white light coming into your body, filling the channels. And then as you breathe out, it's taking out all the negative energy. So you can, different levels, different layers you can add on to this if you like. And if that sounds like a lot, then you can just do it with just the finger and breathing and closing off your nostrils and not worry about all the other stuff. But there is in the handouts if you're interested in adding more to it, in the handouts there's they talk about all that, the different ways of doing it. All right. Oh, one thing about 9-round breathing that I found really interesting. One of the people who helped found Kadampa Center, Robbie Watkins, is a physician. He's a doctor in Cary. And he mentioned one time that when you're doing the 9-round breathing, you should only do it like 3 times because there's actually a physical response. I forget if he said it lowers your blood pressure or it reduces your heart rate or something. And if you do it like a whole bunch of times, you could actually get lightheaded or pass out or something. So he said, only do this 3 or 4 times at most at a time. But yeah, you can do it a couple times to get the feel of it, get the hang of it. All right, so just to do a little bit of a review, we said in the beginning, said a few times that the Tibetan word for meditation is gom, which means what? What does gom mean? Does anybody remember? Familiar, yeah, to become familiar with something. Yep. So what are we becoming familiar with? With the mind? Yeah, we're becoming more familiar with our minds, right? Becoming more familiar with the way our minds work, becoming more familiar with virtuous states of mind, hopefully. So virtuous states of mind are ones that make us happy, that bring happiness, result in happiness. And not necessarily talking about everyday pleasure here, but really more deep happiness, satisfaction, right? That's what we consider virtuous states of mind. So concentration is considered a virtuous state of mind. Improving our ability to concentrate, improving, that's one of the things we do. That's the breathing meditation that we did, where I was talking about just focusing on your breath at the tip of your nose or counting the breaths. That's considered a concentration meditation. And so the purpose of that is to improve your ability to concentrate. How many people think they're really good at concentrating? How many people would like to be better at concentrating? Improve, yeah. So, and it's actually it's been, and so there's the tradition, the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, which is it's been around for Buddhism has been around for 2,500 years, and the meditations are based on earlier Indian traditions that were around for 2,000 years. Then there's also the modern research into some of this stuff, and there's actually been research has been done that shows that doing simple meditation practice, if you do it consistently for a period of time, does improve your ability to concentrate and reduce stress and anxiety. So there's definitely some support to this from the modern scientific world. So just doing these breathing meditations where you're focusing on your breath, trying to improve your ability to focus on just one thing, is part of the purpose, part of what we're doing. So we're trying to improve these virtuous states of mind and increase these virtuous states of mind. And the idea is that we're doing this to benefit ourselves and then also to be of more benefit to others. That's kind of our goal in doing this. That's probably something that everybody wants, right? I mean, everybody in one way or another would like to be of benefit to other people. Don't you think? What do you think? You think everybody really wants that? All the people in the world really want that? No, you don't think so? What do you think?
Just no.
Just a flat out no?
Yeah.
Why? Well, why don't you think that?
There are some really nasty people in the world.
There are some really nasty people in the world. I agree with that 100%.
And there are people who get a boost out of controlling other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think everyone, I think most of us normal folks would
Mhm.
like that, but I don't think everyone would.
So let's take. I hate to pick on anybody in particular, but let's pick on poor Kim Jong Un in North Korea,
Oh.
right? He's probably somebody who definitely likes to be in control, right? Wouldn't you think that on some level he likes to think that he's just totally benefiting the people of North Korea, that he's like totally their savior? You don't think he wants that?
That's
you
the
think-
delusion. That's the delusion.
Well, yeah, believes it, right? Do you think he would like the idea if somebody come up to him and said, "Oh, dear leader," or whatever they call him, you're just such a great benefit to the people of North Korea? You think that would make him feel good? Like if we didn't have you leading us, we would be totally lost. Yeah. So that's the thing. Again, there's a little bit of my opinion here, or maybe a lot of my opinion, but I think everybody on some level likes the idea of benefiting others, even if it's just they like the idea of being seen that way, of being seen as someone who benefits the others. They like the reflection on them, the way that reflects on them. And I think people do. I mean, I can tell you this from talking to some people that I think are supporting some pretty terrible stuff, and yet they can talk about it in a way that makes it sound like, no, this is really benefiting people. We need these whatever really draconian laws because it's going to benefit people. It's going to keep people safe or whatever. So I think on some level, or even if people are really bad at doing it, I think people like the idea of benefiting each other. We all want to be go down in history and be remembered as the great hero, right? I think a lot of people want that.
Delusion.
We're not really good at it, though. Yeah, that's the problem. The problem is that we tend to have a mix of motivations for things, right? So you think about being altruistic, and a lot of people are genuinely altruistic. But I think it's really hard if you're a normal human being. I think it's really hard to be purely altruistic because we always have a little bit of selfish motivation in there. I mean, we talk about self. Somebody last week brought up the idea of ego, right? Which is, I mean, depending on who you're talking to, if you're talking to, somebody, a Buddhist, it means one thing. If you talk to a, modern psychologist, it might mean another thing. You talk to Sigmund Freud, it might mean a totally different thing, right? But ego is basically like your self-image. We all have a certain self-image. We all like to see ourselves in a certain way. And so a lot of the things that we do, even if they're altruistic, there's a certain element there of, there tends to be, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. Even sometimes when I'm doing something that's maybe has an altruistic motivation, sometimes there's some selfishness in there too, right? I'm, doing it because I like the way it reflects on me or just because it makes me feel good, right? I mean, that's maybe a little bit of a selfish. It's hard to be totally doing things for a pure motivation that doesn't have any aspect of selfishness at all. And that's the problem, right? So we want to be a benefit to people, but it can be difficult to do. And sometimes we all want to do the right thing, but we react to external circumstances, especially not in a way that's very beneficial. Like I'm sure if I asked everybody, if Mike went around with the microphone and asked everybody, do you like to think of yourself as a patient person, or would you like to be a patient person? Do you think that's a good thing? Everybody would probably say yes. But yet, if you're driving on 40 tomorrow and somebody cuts you off, you might get a little bit impatient with them, right? So a lot of, the challenge is a reaction to things that happen outside. You get a coworker that's really being difficult, right? And we don't always deal with that in a very positive way. So it's a reaction. And it's a reaction based on our self-image, When that guy, I mean, I don't know, again, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but when that guy cuts me off on 40, I'm generally not thinking, oh, wow, that was really dangerous. He could have hurt himself. He could have damaged his vehicle. His passengers were in danger there, and, he might hurt somebody else. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking, he just cut me off. He could have hurt my car, So it's that me that rises up very quickly that tends to be a problem a lot, right? When the coworker, gets in your face or whatever, you're having some kind of conflict, button heads with a coworker, you're probably not thinking, wow, this is really detrimental to our company and our mission and our goals that we're trying to achieve. You're thinking, why is this person picking on me? Right? So that's what we're up against. And it's very interesting, but so there's the outside circumstances, but there are inside circumstances too. And I don't know if you guys were here a couple of weeks ago. I know some people said they come on Sundays. And if you were here when Geshe Gelik was talking, Geshe Gelik is our resident teacher. He's a Tibetan monk. He teaches on Sundays. And he was talking about, did anybody remember the story he was telling, like the analogy he was giving about lending somebody some money, like 35 cents? You remember that one, right? So basically what he was saying was like, imagine so you lend somebody $1. Like somebody comes up to you and says, hey, can I borrow $1? And so you give them $1, right? And you're being generous. It's generosity. Oh yeah, I have $1. Sure, yeah, you can have it, no problem. That's a virtuous thought. It's generosity, or virtuous action of being generous. Or maybe you don't, right? Maybe maybe the person asks for $1, and you know this person. You go, oh, they're just going to go buy cigarettes. I'm not going to give them $1, right? I mean, I'm not going to give them $1 so they can do something that harms themselves. And that's okay too, right? Because what state of mind is motivating that? If you say, no, I'm not going to give this person $1 because they're going to do something with it that's going to harm them. What state of mind would that be, do you think?
Selfish.
You think it's selfish?
Yeah.
It could be. What else could it be?
You got to give unconditionally. It's got to be unconditional.
Well, what if you say you're not going to give it to
I
them?
know what you're thinking. I know what you're going to do.
Microphone. No, to you.
I'm sorry. No, it seems like I know what's in your best interest.
Yeah.
I should give you the dollar. I should do what I want you to.
Okay, so that could be selfish. Yeah. Could it be compassionate? Could that be compassion as well? It could be, yeah. You could say, no, I know this person wants the $1, and I know this person wants to go buy the cigarettes, but I know what they're going to do with it, right? So I'm not going to give it to them. And that's compassion. It's kind to do it that way. Or it could be selfish, right? I mean, it could, so there's, the same action could have a lot of different motivations. If you're doing it with the mind, if you're withholding the $1 with that mind saying, no, I know what's best for this person, I'm not going to, I'm the one who knows best, then yeah, that's selfish, right? But it could be either way, right? It could be a virtuous state of mind. It could be a generous state of mind where you just go, even if, just like you're kind of saying, I might say, well, wait a minute. I don't know. I'm not a mind reader, right? This person's an adult. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know they're going to go buy cigarettes with it, so I'm just going to give it to them. Have the $1. There you go. That's generous. Unconditional. Wait.
I know you're going to go buy that pack of cigarettes. Here, go ahead. Maybe that'll bring you a little happiness. Who am I to judge whether that your nervousness and you're going home and raging at your kids might be ameliorated if you have a cigarette and make you just relax a little bit. So
that's
I'm sorry
generous.
for the side effects, but there could be benefits for something to somebody's, and that's his attachment or her.
And that's generous, right? So you would be being generous by giving it to them, or just not worrying about it, right? But sometimes we worry about stuff a lot, right? So why worry about it? Just give them the $1. You don't know. I don't know.
Or
so with the idea is we could do something like that. And so this is where Geshe Gelik was going with the analogy, right? So you do something like that. Or maybe like you look in your wallet and you don't have $1. So you have $5, right? So you just give them $5. And they go, oh, I'll bring the change right back. I'll be right back with the change, right? And this person, they're never coming back. You're going to see them a week from now, and they will have totally forgotten that they were going to bring you the change, right? So the idea is that we can do things. You could have something like that, and the idea is the starting point is a generous one. The starting point is a point of generosity, or the starting point is a point of compassion if you decide not to give it to them. But then from there, we have to be very careful because we often go from a very virtuous state of mind to a non-virtuous one very easily, right? So maybe I decide to give the person the $1. And then a few minutes later I'm going, oh, I shouldn't have done that, because I know they're just going to go get cigarettes with it. Like, why did they ask me? Why did I let them do that? I always let them. I'm such a terrible person. I always give in. They ask me stuff and I always give in. And then you go, well, and why did they ask me in the first place? Like, what's wrong with them? Why are they always asking me for money, right? So we easily go from that place where we've done something virtuous and we can just be happy and they rejoice. Yay, I did something really nice. To all of a sudden, a few minutes later, we're like in this, we're raging in our minds at this person because how dare they ask me for money? Or we withhold the money, right? No, I'm not going to give it to you. I know you're just going to go buy cigarettes. And then we second guess ourselves. Like, I'm such a terrible person. I'm so judgmental. I don't really know what they're going to do with it. I should have just given them the $1, right? Why do they come and ask me for money anyway? Because, and then we turn around again. Like, what? They're always asking me for money. What's wrong with that person? So either way, we can go from this very an act, whatever it is, either a compassionate act of saying no, the tough love thing, or a generous act of just saying, sure, here's $1. And yet we're not satisfied to let it be that, right? We tend to go, so that's not somebody else interfering. That's our own minds taking us down that path. And so we need to, and this is the whole point that Geshe Gelik was making, is we need to watch. Right, we need to think about our intentions and our motivations and watch our minds, because they very easily go from these very virtuous places to these non-virtuous places, and if we're not careful, then they go there very easily. Kids. I mean, Susan was talking. You were talking last week about something with your daughter and everything, and conversation you were having with your daughter. I mean, that's difficult too, right? Because if you have kids, I mean, you want to be kind to them. You want to give them things. You want them to feel loved and everything and do things for them. And yet at the same time, you want them to grow up into responsible adults who can do things for themselves. And sometimes those two motivations are in conflict with each other, right? So you'd make a decision. Yeah, got to make a decision sometimes. Yes, I'm going to, your son or daughter asks you for something and you say yes, or your son or daughter asks you for something and you say no. Either way, you could be doing the right thing, but the idea is we do that and then we go back and second guess ourselves. Oh, I should have done it. I'm so mean. I'm so terrible. All they did was ask for $1 for a pack of cigarettes, and I said no. Right? So we beat ourselves up.
When was the last time you smoked?
Years and years and years and years.
You can buy a half a cigarette for $1 now, Scott.
Yeah. So yeah, the idea is that's why we have to watch our minds. And that's one of the benefits of meditation, is that you're trying to create a little bit of space, right? If you get used to sitting here on the meditation cushion and you get used to noticing, you're trying to concentrate on one thing and you get used to noticing when your mind wanders and goes down a certain path. You're supposed to be sitting here counting your breaths and all of a sudden you're thinking about the show you're going to be watching tonight, or you're thinking about the conversation you had with a coworker, or you're thinking about that piece of chocolate cake that you want to have that's sitting in the refrigerator at home, whatever it is. You're thinking about doing laundry. Why am I thinking about doing laundry? It's not even laundry day. Why am I thinking about that? It's amazing the things that will pop into your mind when you're just sitting here trying to count your breaths. And so if we practice a little bit, the first step is noticing, right? Oh, I just noticed I'm supposed to be counting my breaths, and here I am thinking about laundry. So you notice it. That's a great thing. That's what you're supposed to be doing. It's not, look, I'm such a terrible person because I can't sit here and meditate. It's great. I noticed my mind wandering, and now I'm going to bring my attention back. And when you learn to do that, when you learn to notice your mind going in a direction that's not really where you want it to go, and you gently bring your attention back, if you do that enough sitting here in a nice controlled environment, then maybe eventually you start catching yourself in other situations. And the idea is to be able to, so it's not such a reaction. So everything you do is not such a reaction. We're not just reacting to whatever the person does externally, the person on 40 or whoever it is. We're not just reacting, because often our reactions are kind of selfish. So what we're doing is giving ourselves a chance to take a breath and think about how we want to react. Or same thing, if you're sitting somewhere and you watch your mind going in a certain direction and you catch yourself and you go, is this really going to help me to sit here and think about this? Am I really going to spend the next half hour thinking about that stupid $1 that I just gave to somebody, or can I just let that go? Right? I did it. I gave him the $1. It's gone. It's fine. You can, one of the things we talk about in this tradition, this philosophy, is regret. So regret is okay. It's okay to say, you know what, that probably wasn't a good idea. If I'm faced with that situation again, I'll do something different. That's great. That's learning, right? But to sit here and mull things over in your mind and beat yourself up over it because you think you're a terrible person just because you made that decision, that's guilt, and that's not considered very productive in this philosophy. And that's one of the reasons why the meditation that we did last time, the transforming difficult situations, that can be really positive, because if you really have a regret about something and you say, oh, I wish I hadn't, maybe you get your coworker says something to you and you lose your temper and you get in this big fight with your coworker. And then you go home and you're feeling bad about it. Well, so you think about it and you think about how you could have reacted differently, and you can go through that meditation we did last week and kind of replay the situation in your mind, not over and over and over again like we so often do, but just replay it once and really strongly imagine yourself having a more positive action, taking more positive action, and imagine that whole situation having a more positive outcome. Even if the other people didn't react differently, maybe you feel a little more calm about it, which is a positive outcome. So that's one way of letting things go, right, is just visualizing it that one time, taking a few moments to think about it that one time and think about how you would have preferred it to happen, and then you let it go. So perfectly fine to think about a situation and say, oh, with wisdom and say, oh, I really probably shouldn't have done that. That probably wasn't the best choice. So let me think about next time if it happens again, how I would choose differently. Good, I learned something. So that's kind of the point of what we've been doing so far. Any questions about any of that? Comments, thoughts? It's kind of a wrap-up or roundup of where we ended
It
last
seems
time.
like it's a transformation, and it's a real slow one, where you make the conscious decision to generate compassion when the person cuts you off, and instead of saying what or how dare you or whatever, or aren't you thinking, whatever the non-virtuous thought is, and transform that to, I hope they're not in a hurry because somebody in their family is in danger or sick, or that guy must be under tremendous stress. There must be something wrong right now, and I hope everything's okay. If you can reach to that, it always seems like that's the place to go. But I just
even just think,
it's
and
the
that's
second thought.
yeah, it's the second thought. But that's a good example, because when you're when you're doing this, transforming negative situations to positive, it doesn't have to be some knockdown, drag out fight with your coworker, right, or your significant other that you're going to sit and think about and transform. It could just be a thought. It could be that driving down 40, somebody cuts you off, and you had that moment of anger, that angry thought. You might think about that later and imagine it in a more positive way. So yeah, it doesn't have to be big things. It could be little things too.
Yeah, meditation provides like a pillow. It's like a pillow to me. It's a cushion between that immediate reaction, and like an airbag almost. It gives you that space to be safe and say, think about this before you react.
Exactly. So, and this all has to do with the oh yeah, you have a question, comment? Sorry.
Get up.
Yes.
Well, it's not a question, it's a comment. It's also work like for when you are sad or when you are happy. I don't know, when you meditate, you can be aware of your thoughts and which ones makes you sad or makes you happy, or you are also aware when it's going to happen. When you can turn sad or something. I think
Yeah. Noticing how you react to certain thoughts. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of it's just noticing, noticing. And some of it is you have to have patience, We especially, I think, well, I don't know if this is something that's just true of humans in general or us now in the 21st century, but we like things to happen very quickly, right? We don't really like questions as much as we like answers. But sometimes you have to just be okay with the questions, right? Sometimes you have to be okay with the fact that things don't change overnight. It takes effort, it takes practice. So part of it is saying, yeah, I'm not really where I want to be right now. I do react. I do get angry at people. I do kind of lose my temper and snap at people sometimes. But I want to change that. So I'm going to keep working on it, right? And not expect to have all the answers, Yeah, I didn't react perfectly in that situation. I didn't really, I gave the person the $1 to go get a pack of cigarettes, and I really knew that that's what they were going to do, and I shouldn't have done that. And maybe the next time they ask me, maybe I really don't have the fortitude to say no to this person. So maybe the next time they ask me, I'm going to do it again. But, be okay with that. Be okay with the fact that maybe you don't have all the answers and you don't know exactly the best way to handle a situation, but you want to, and you're going to think about it. And you're just going to, sit with that. I think we get frustrated sometimes because we don't have immediate answers, and not everything lends itself to an immediate answer, to knowing the right way to do things immediately. So all this has to do with the view of the mind, right? The Buddhist view of the mind. It's clear and knowing, and the idea that we can change our minds. The minds are changeable. We can, with effort, change a lot of what we do that is not very useful to us are just habits of mind. Getting angry at someone, reacting in a selfish way when somebody does a certain thing. We all have our buttons that get pressed. So the idea is we have these habits, and all we're trying to do, or one of the main things we're trying to do, is change those habits. And it takes time, it takes effort. But I think one of the really wonderful things about this particular philosophy is a very innate and deeply entrenched idea that our minds can change, that we have the ability to do that we're not stuck with whatever we have. It's definitely gets weaved into everything that we do and all these meditations that we do. The purpose is to be able to change our minds. So we'll talk a little bit about if you decide that you want to do this on a regular basis, if you decide that you want to meditate on a regular basis, we'll talk a little bit about how this some housekeeping things and some ways to develop a good habit of meditation if you want to do that, and then we'll do some more meditating after that. But there are a few different meditations that we talked about in the last few sessions, and we're doing today, and we'll do next week. And you may find that some of them work better for you. Maybe there's one particular one that you like better, or maybe I talked about this book, How to Meditate. Most of the meditations that we do, I think, are in here, and there are a bunch of others too. So maybe you get a book and or you listen to a recording, and there are some things, particular meditations that you really like doing that work really well for you. So whatever exactly you're going to do during the actual meditation session, whatever actual type of meditation you decide you want to do, there are some things that you can do to make it more effective, to get more benefit out of it. So we say there are 4 basic parts to a complete meditation session. So the first part is calming your mind. And earlier when we did the 9-round breathing, that's basically the purpose of that, to settle your mind down from whatever else it was that you were doing before. So that's one of the things that you can do with a 9-round breathing, is just use it to settle your mind. And then setting a motivation. That's the second part, the second of the 4 parts. And we'll talk a little bit more about motivation and dedication in a moment, but that would be the second part, is setting a motivation. And then there's the actual meditation, whatever meditation you're going to do. Maybe it's the transforming, negative situations. Maybe it's the meditation on mind like the ocean, or meditation on mind like the sky, one of the other ones that we've done. Maybe it's just counting the breaths. You're going to sit there and do a 10-minute concentration meditation. So that's the actual meditation that you're doing, like the main course that you were planning, the main, type of meditation you wanted to do during the session. And then after that is a dedication. That would be the 4th part. So calming the mind, setting a motivation, then the actual meditation you're doing, and then dedication are the 4 parts.
What's the difference between setting a motivation and offering a dedication?
The difference between motivation and dedication, that was the question. And that is an excellent segue into our next topic. So let's talk about that. The idea of motivation, and this really applies to not just meditating, but you can apply this to everything you do in life. If you really want to go big with this, you could apply this to everything you do in life. It's taking a moment to think about a goal, your purpose. Why am I doing this? What's my real purpose for doing this? And one of the things that does is it kind of sharpens your focus. Because especially us, I'm not going to, again, I'll just speak for myself. It's very easy for me to be doing multiple things at the same time, right? So the classic example of somebody who's, driving down the road, talking on their cell phone, eating a sandwich, reading a book, right? Like doing all these things at once, right? But we do that a lot, and I do it even in situations, I guess now maybe I'm looking out for it a little more, but I notice myself doing it in situations when I would not think that I was doing it. When I really think that I'm just doing one thing, but I'm not. I'm doing 3 or 4 things. And sometimes, we don't realize, we think, the whole idea about multitasking, it's a very popular idea these days, or has been a popular idea, that you can multitask, or that's a good thing, right? That you should be able to handle multiple things at once. And if you ask any neuroscientist or any psychologist who's researched this, or read the research, or actually studied it, they're going to go, no. We do one thing at a time. And if you think you're multitasking, what you're really doing is you're switching back and forth rapidly between tasks or between trains of thought, which makes everything you're doing less effective. So really, we're much more effective when we're just strictly focused on one task. I don't know if anybody's tried, this is totally a side thing, but has anybody ever tried the Pomodoro technique? Has anybody heard of that? It's a pretty effective way to organize, especially if you're a huge procrastinator like me, or you have trouble organizing your time. Basically what you do is take a little kitchen timer and set it for 25 minutes and just tell yourself, I'm going to spend the next 25 minutes just doing whatever it is. If it's answering emails, if it's writing this report, or whatever it is, or even housework, like I'm going to spend the next 25 minutes cleaning the bathroom. And then when the timer goes off, you stop and take a 5-minute break and reward yourself. Go get a piece of candy, or go get a nice piece carrot stick if you're going to be more healthy about it, right? Take your 5 minutes, set your timer so you just take a 5-minute break, so you don't end up half an hour or 2 hours or 10 hours later going, oh, why am I on Facebook? I was supposed to be cleaning the bathroom, right? So you set the timer for 5 minutes, and then you set another 25-minute timer after your 5-minute break, and you go do another 25-minute intense meditation session. not meditation. Well, it is meditation. You do another 25-minute intense work session, focusing on your task, and then another 5-minute break. So you do this 3 times. Each of these cycles, a 25-minute work session and a 5-minute break, is called a Pomodoro. And you do 3 of these, and then you take a half-hour break. And it's really effective. It's really, it can be if you practice it. And you have to practice it because it's not like just something you just start doing. You'll say, oh yeah, I'm going to try that today. And then you find like halfway through you stop and you're on Facebook for 3 hours, or you're, whatever. Your 5-minute breaks turn into 20. So you got to keep trying it. You got to keep practicing. But if you practice it and you get the hang of it, I find that I'm a lot more productive because during those 25 minutes, that's all I'm doing. I don't let myself do anything else. If I'm writing a report or something, I don't let myself go check email in the middle or answer an email that pops up. So the idea that being able to focus on one thing is very, very helpful to us is, a lot of you look at some of the more recent research, that's what they're saying is, yes, you should just be trying to focus on one thing and just do that. And then when you're done with that, do something else. So it's fine if you have, 5 different things to do, but do them sequentially one at a time rather than trying to do all 5 at once, because guess what? Your brain is going to do them sequentially one at a time anyway, whether you want it to or not. Yes. Oh, microphone. Can we have the microphone?
So I feel I'm much more productive at work when I'm listening to a podcast and I'm doing my work. Like when I'm not listening to a podcast, it's much easier for my mind to just wander and like talk to people. And so is listening to a podcast and doing something multitasking?
So that's very interesting because strictly by definition, yes. I guess it depends on how much attention you're giving to the podcast versus how much attention you're giving to the work. But I know people, and that's the thing, I know people that would say that they are much more productive with music on or listening to something in the background, kind of white noise. So if that's helpful, then do it, right? If that's helpful, then do it. But it's more, what I would say is probably that what you're listening to isn't as high of a priority. Maybe like the podcast, you're able to focus on your work because something, and you've already decided, you've set an intention that your main task is working, and the podcast is there just to help you do that.
Well, like I'm really listening to a podcast. Like I don't know. It's like I feel I'm like doing these 2 things, and like I don't miss anything from the podcast, and at the same time I'm like very productive at like doing this work that like it has like complicated things. I don't know. So
that's good. I mean, if that's working for you, and again, I'm not going to try to get you to second guess anything that's working. If it's working, keep doing it. But again, what a neuroscientist would say is what your brain is doing is very rapidly switching back and forth between 2 things. And what it may be for some of us is if you don't give it something to switch back and forth between, maybe it's going to find something. Right, and that's how, like, if you don't give it that one thing to pay, that one other thing to switch to, the podcast, while you're working, if that's not there, then you're going to switch to something that's going to be more of a distraction, like going and talking to a coworker or something. So maybe that's why that works. I don't know. I think that's an interesting phenomenon because I know a lot of people who say that they are more productive if they have something like that going on.
Thanks.
Yeah. But so the whole point of this was to talk about motivation, and I got totally off on a tangent on that, talking about the Pomodoro technique and everything, and podcasts, which is what I do sometimes. See? Perfect example, right? Did I just give you a good example of what I was talking about? So let's get back to motivation. So the purpose of motivation is it focuses your thought. It's kind of a reminder that, like, this is what I'm doing right now, right? I'm just going to do this is what I'm doing, and this is why I'm doing it. And it can make it, in the case of meditation, if you just sit down like, okay, I'm going to start meditating. Here I go. Ready, set, go. Right? Well, it's considered a little more effective if you just, instead of doing that, if you actually set a motivation. Like, let me think about why I'm doing this. I'm really doing this. I'm taking, this time out of my busy day to do this because it's beneficial, because it's going to benefit me. It's going to make me a calmer person, a more peaceful person. A person who's better able to benefit others. It's a really great thing. And I want to benefit other people. And I'm going to pay even more attention. I'm going to work even harder at this meditation session. I'm going to be even more focused on what I'm doing here and really put the effort into doing it because I know I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it to benefit others too. And so it does increase. They say it increases the effectiveness of whatever you're doing of the meditation. And I mean, again, that can apply to other things too. If you think about other things you're doing in life, why am I doing this? Well, I think this is a really good thing to do. I really like my job, and I know this is important to the company, and so that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm sitting here answering these emails, or that's why I'm sitting here typing this report. So taking a moment to think about why you're doing something and trying to think about it in a very positive way, a very virtuous way. I mean, if you sit there and go, oh, I got to do this again. I hate doing this. That's not setting a motivation. Right? Setting a positive intention, a positive reason for why you're doing it, and taking a moment to reflect on that positive reason just makes what you're doing more effective. And same thing with dedicating. Dedication is kind of a way of sealing in and directing the positive effort that you just made, directing it in a positive direction, directing it in positive ways for your own life and you're in the world. And it depends if you are, if you're interested in Buddhist philosophy. This has to do with, karma, and when you do a virtuous action, you want to kind of protect it, right? You put a little hat on it, put a little helmet on it, so it doesn't get knocked around, right? So when you do something virtuous, you want that you want that virtuous act to someday ripen into a positive result for you and for others. So that's what we're doing by dedicating is protecting or sealing in that positive action. But again, just from a very practical standpoint, as people say, they're like bookends. The motivation and the dedication are like the bookends on an action that you're doing. So the motivation is there to focus and focus your energy and let you reflect on the reason why you're doing it and the meaning for what you're doing at the very beginning, and then the dedication at the end is sealing it and kind of setting a stopping point for it and focusing it on that end. Does that help?
It does.
Yeah. They're not really, and you're, in some ways you're thinking about the same thing. You can think about the exact same thing in the motivation and dedication. I'm doing this for the benefit of all sentient beings. I'm going to take a moment and do this meditation session for the benefit of all beings, for my benefit and the benefit of all. And then at the end, you're just thinking the same thing. I hope that this meditation session that I just completed is going to benefit me and benefit all beings. So you're kind of thinking the same thing in each case, but it's the start point and the end point. And I think it does. People talk about doing this not just in meditation, but everything that you do during the day. Taking a moment to focus your energy in the beginning, and then at the end, kind of put a period on it, or an exclamation point. Focus it at the end. Having a starting point and end point. Oh, can we have the microphone?
I guess where I was coming from, and this is something I'm just making up, of course, but
Okay.
I wasn't sure if you were doing it primarily related to the meditation and what the meditation can bring to you, or if you have a motivation like, I'm going to do this because I want to buy a car, and this is going to help me do my job better so I can make more money so I can buy this new Rolls Royce. So you're not talking about something along those lines. You're doing it more along how the meditation actually reflects you as a person and the greater community as a good, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, they say that motivation, if you're talking about like the motivation, like I'm going to do this meditation session so that I am better focused, so that I'm more productive at work, so that I make more money so I can buy that car. Is that like that kind of motivation?
Yeah.
I mean, they would say that that's not as powerful of a motivation because, things that we do for others tends to be more powerful. And also, that's one of the reasons why when we do these dedications and we would do the motivation, we think about imagine the difference. We just think for a moment about the difference between saying, okay, I want to do this to get something I really want. And the difference, or doing this, sitting here and doing this meditation, if you're getting ready to sit down and meditate, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to meditate, and it's going to help me get something I want. So you have that thought in your head. Think about the difference between that and saying, just thinking for a moment that it's very possible and likely that sitting here and doing this meditation is not just going to benefit me, not just me, but it's going to help me be a benefit to all sentient beings. And maybe maybe that makes sense to you, or maybe it doesn't. But imagine just sitting and thinking about that for a moment, that doing this action that I'm about to do, this thing that I'm about to do, this practice that I'm about to do, is going to let me be a benefit to all sentient beings, all living beings everywhere. Yeah, exactly. Like Rolls Royce, who cares? Like that's a way more powerful motivation. Yeah, and the dedication at the end, it makes it a way more powerful thing that you're doing. And that's why we do something like that. It just makes that whole event in your life, those whole moments of your life, a lot more powerful by doing it that way. A lot more benefit, a lot more powerful impression on your mind, right? So yeah, Mike, would you? I guess you have a couple people. So. we can pass it around.
I was just going to say that for me, I find one of the things that I find a hard time doing is finding time for myself and finding not feeling guilty that I'm taking time for myself. So in this case, it's expressing that it has value, that this activity is not just value for me, but for the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives me more, more weight on, and importance to it, like you said. So I think that's a really important thing to notice, that this activity is very important.
Yeah, it gives it more weight.
Yeah.
I like saying it
Yeah.
that way. Yeah, that's nice. That's great. Thank you. And yeah, one more.
I think that this has to do with like real happiness. When Robina came, she talked about that she has some shoes that she really wanted to buy, and at the end, she was like a social worker or something. So at the end, that money went for some kids that they needed shoes. So she was able to buy like 5 shoes for those kids.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, by now, I don't even remember which type of shoes I wanted to buy. And those were my happiness, at that time. But I certainly remember the faces of those kids when I give them those shoes. So it's like, maybe like that is real happiness,
Yeah.
that is like not a Rolls Royce or not a car or not some shoes, but so you set your meditation to like for real happiness, and it's maybe.
Yeah, genuine benefit to others. Yeah, it's very. I mean, if you think about it, everything we're doing when we meditate, I mean, it's all about making positive impressions on your mind, right? We're not lifting weights. We're not doing CrossFit. We're not, we're not doing something I mean, they say that meditation does have physiological benefits, but the main thing that we're doing is the purpose, in this tradition, is to benefit your mind. And so that's the whole purpose, right? It's to have a positive impression, a positive benefit on your mind. So the stronger that you make that intention, and then making that dedication at the end, the stronger you're more significant you make that time to yourself, the more stronger the impression is on your mind. I mean, that's one way to think about it. And it really is, sitting here and saying, may this help me be a benefit to all beings. It's not just, something nice to say. I mean, there's a really, I don't remember who said this, but it's probably a few different people said it at different times, is, each of us individually is part of the world. So if you do something that genuinely benefits you and makes you a better person, you're making the world a better place. You're part of the world. You do something to make yourself a better person, you're making the world a better place. And that's real, that's true. And even on a practical side, you may think, well, that seems kind of vague, or that seems kind of, uncertain. But really, if you're doing something that is going to help you be a little more calm, a little more focused, a little more peaceful, a little more, generous, then any interaction that someone has with you might go better. And there's a domino effect there. And you never know when just, some time you spend meditating is going to translate into you just taking one breath before you talk to somebody or before you react to something that someone says. And that can be a huge benefit, that one interaction going better. So there really is a practical side of this, a practical side to all these things that we say. So what we're going to do next is a visual. I do want to get to one more meditation before we call it a night. We're going to do a visualization meditation. And so visualization meditations are, like an example of it would be when I was talking about doing the 9-round breathing, where you're actually imagining the channels in your, the energy channels in your body. It's just a way of, so you're actually bringing some visual imagery to mind as you do the meditation and focusing on that. So we're going to, again, part of what we're always working on while we're meditating is mindfulness. Does anybody remember what mindfulness is? We talked about mindfulness a little bit. There's concentration and there's mindfulness. Does anybody remember the difference between those two? Can you, Mike, can we, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me answer first.
No, don't worry. Come on, man. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't get a dry run.
Yeah. So isn't mindfulness the knowledge that your mind and your thoughts are separate?
The knowledge that your mind and your thoughts are separate. That's a great answer, but I think that's just knowledge. Right? It's a good answer. It's very related. We were talking to talking about those things at the same time. Mindfulness it's somewhat related to that. It's an awareness that you have while you're meditating of whether you're actually meditating or not, whether you're actually concentrating on the object. So concentration is your ability to focus your thoughts on one thing, one single object, right? So if I'm sitting here focusing, so let's say I'm sitting here doing a breathing meditation and counting the breaths. My concentration would be my ability to actually just sit here and count my breaths. Mindfulness is the aspect of mind that knows whether I'm actually counting my breaths or whether I'm listening to the train or the motorcycle, right? That's mindfulness. So it is an aspect of awareness. While you're meditating, there is that, and while you're trying to focus on one thing, there is an aspect of your mind that's paying attention to whether you're actually doing that or not. And that's probably a good explanation for mindfulness. Okay. Yeah. Good.
I'm right here for you.
Eventually, when we get good at this, do the thoughts stop and I'm actually just paying attention to the breath and there's no thoughts? I mean, is that what I'm...
There's no thoughts except for what you're choosing to pay attention to? That's what they say, yes. That's what they say. And it is, it is interesting because, and I'll tell you, it's like, so let's say you see, you go to a basketball game, right? You go to a professional basketball game and you're watching these guys play, or you go to a, UNC game, Duke game, watch these guys play. And we see people doing amazing things. I mean, imagine if just 5 of us randomly from this room got up and tried to play basketball against the UNC men's team, right? Just 2 times running up and down the court trying to keep up with them, and we're all going to be passed out on the floor, right? And yet we watch them do that and we go, oh yeah, of course they can do that because they've practiced, right? These are people, these are guys who are in really good shape and they practice every day. So of course they can do these amazing athletic feats. We don't find that unusual, right? Well, the idea is, in meditation, is that if you actually practice this stuff for a very long time and you do a good job with it, what our minds are capable of doing is incredible. There was somebody was talking about, I don't remember I may get the exact numbers wrong, but somebody was talking about, they had these mind and life conferences where basically you have Buddhist monks getting together with neuroscientists, psychologists, physicists, people, quantum physicists, people, some of the people on the leading edge of scientific research today getting together with these, Buddhist monks and talking about different ideas and how some of these ideas in Buddhism, like neuroplasticity, in modern science, like neuroplasticity is related to these things that Buddhism have been saying for, centuries and centuries. So apparently there was one of these conferences and the scientists were very interested in the idea. They were talking about concentration. And apparently some research had just come out showing that they measured somebody's ability to concentrate on one single thing for an extended period of time. And it was 6 minutes they found that somebody could concentrate on one single thing without any intruding thoughts, right? And so the scientists asked these Buddhist monks, they said, we know that sometimes, there are people who go into these very deep, intense states of meditation and are meditating for very long periods of time. So in your experience, what's the longest you've ever known of somebody focusing on one single thing and being able to concentrate on one single thing? What in your experience is the longest amount of time? And so these monks got together and they're talking to each other in Tibetan and comparing notes and stuff. And then they turn around and the one guy says, 6 months. So, I don't know. I've never concentrated on one single thing for that long. But, if you think about it, it's not really unrealistic for somebody to, sit down. You have a friend who starts playing piano, and then you see him a couple of years later, and they're playing amazing music. And nobody says, oh, that's so mystical. That's that woo-woo music stuff, That's all that cosmic music stuff. No, it's just practice, right? So same thing. Some of these things are, really improving our ability to concentrate to really amazing levels. Isn't that crazy of a thought if you think it is just practice and the result of practice, right? So let's do this one more meditation. And And yeah, so the idea is what they say is when you get good at this, you can concentrate on just one single thing if you choose to for, without intruding thoughts for however long you want, however long you choose. All right. Let me find this one that we're going to do today. So I said that this is kind of related to what I was talking about earlier in terms of the 9-round breathing and different variations of the 9-round breathing that you can do. This is a purification with light meditation. So we'll close out the session with this. So go ahead and sit in a comfortable position wherever you like, on a cushion or in a chair. Think for a moment about the position of your body. Think about your legs, having your legs resting flat, feet resting flat on the ground or on a cushion. If you're on a cushion on the ground, adjust your position, get yourself comfortable. Think about your arms. Again, if you're sitting, the way we do it in this tradition is both palms facing up, right hand resting on the left hand, thumbs gently touching, and your hands just resting in your lap comfortably. Arms away from your body a little bit. Let a little air circulate, keeping your back straight. Shoulders back slightly, sitting up straight like you're getting your picture taken. Very regal position. Your jaw and teeth are relaxed, lips closed, teeth not clenched. Teeth can be open gently. They're just relaxed, jaw relaxed. And the tip of your tongue resting against the roof of your mouth. Your eyes just gently closed or gently open, slightly open, just letting a little bit of light in. Not really focusing on anything, just gaze directed about 6 feet out in front of you, and your head in a comfortable position that naturally directs your gaze out in front of you. So just focus your attention on your breathing and breathe naturally. If you want, for a moment, you can use one of the breathing meditations we've discussed, either counting the breaths or the 9-round breathing, to settle your mind. And just do that for a moment or two. So again, we're going to create an altruistic motivation for the meditation session. Think that you're meditating not just for your own individual benefit, but you're taking the time now to meditate and develop your mind to become a wiser and kinder person, able to benefit all beings, all sentient beings. Expand your motivation out. Expand your intention out to make this time that you're going to spend meditating valuable time that will allow you to benefit all sentient beings. So focus your attention on your breath. Just breathe normally and naturally. Focusing on the complete duration of each inhalation and exhalation. As you exhale, imagine that all your negative energy, past mistakes, distorted conceptions, disturbed emotions, leave your body with the breath. Visualize all this negative energy as black smoke. Send it out into space where it disappears completely. Visualize this repeatedly. As you breathe out all these negativities again and again, feel confident that you're gradually freeing yourself from all traces of negativities, all faults, all sickness or delusions. Each time you breathe out, black smoke leaving your body, containing all your negative energy, all your past mistakes, all your distorted conceptions and disturbed emotions, leaving your body with your breath as black smoke. All goes out into space and disappears completely. Gradually freeing yourself from all traces of negativities, all faults, all sickness, and all delusions. As you inhale, imagine that all the positive energy in the universe enters your body with the breath in the form of pure, radiant white light. Visualize this light flowing through your nostrils, down into your body, and into every part and corner of your body, pervading every cell, every atom, every organ. Your body gradually becomes clearer and clearer, lighter and lighter, more and more transparent. You feel more and more relaxed, more light, more blissful. Visualize this continuously, repeatedly, again and again. Continue to concentrate on this experience, breathing out the black smoke of your problems, illnesses, and negative energies, and breathing in the white light of purifying, blissful, good energy. If you're distracted at all by feelings or sensations or other input from the environment, just observe these distractions without reacting or getting involved. Imagine that they too transform into black smoke and then breathe them out into oblivion. So as you bring the meditation to a close, dedicate all the positive energy you've created through the practice of mindful meditation to becoming a better and better person who is more at peace in life and who can bring more peace and well-being to others in every moment of every day. What do you think? Any thoughts, comments? Yeah.
I think this is for me my favorite one is the one that helps me the most because I can actually feel like I can visualize, my brain and, areas of tension or where the negative, emotions and stuff, can be stored. I can visualize them exiting my body and just makes me lighter. And I don't know, I just love it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing I like about visualization meditations too, is it really gives you that to focus on, that imagery to focus on of, getting rid of these negative thoughts, negative emotions, and bringing the white light in. Were you able to do that? Is everybody able to kind of get some idea of that or image of that? The white light coming in, black smoke coming out. So yeah, the imagery is very positive, very tangible almost. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I found that one to be really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Funny thing is the way my mind works, I had to separate the white light and the positive and the negative because in my mind the negative was swirling around. So I kind of made these compartments and I blew the negative into this.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah. During the exhale, just thinking about getting rid of the negative, and during the inhale, just thinking about bringing in the positive, and compartmentalizing those if you need to. Yeah, that's great. Excellent. And I think it's good if there are any of these that really seem to work for you. You may decide you want to focus on that. The homework is going to be the same as always, which is spend some time this week in between sessions. Try to find some time during your day, maybe first thing in the morning. That's usually a good time to just sit somewhere and do, 5 minutes is fine. If you have 10 minutes or 15 minutes, that's fantastic. It's going to be better in the beginning, Geshe Gelik always says this, to do more short sessions, many short sessions. So even if it's just like, I'm going to do 5 minutes in the morning, and then maybe 5 minutes at lunchtime, I'm just going to sit down and focus on my breath, and then maybe 5 minutes in the evening. That's great. It's better to do that than try to plan some, okay, I'm going to sit this morning, I'm off from work today, and I'm going to sit and meditate for 4 hours. And then you're either miserable trying to do it or you just don't, right? So many short sessions, and then as time goes on, you can do fewer longer. But 5 minutes is fine, 5 or 10 minutes. So that's your homework. And you can pick one that seems to really work for you. If this one works for you, or the Mind Like the Ocean works really well for you, or Mind Like the Sky, you can do that. You don't have to sit and do the counting the breath if that one seems really tedious for you. Or the bare attention, where you're just focusing on the breath without counting. You don't have to do those. Although you might keep them in mind, because if you're doing one of these that you really like, and you find that you're losing your ability to concentrate, or you find you're becoming easily distracted, then maybe for a couple days go back and practice one of the concentration ones, specifically counting the breaths or the bare attention. You can switch them around like that. But it's nice to use one that you really like and really enjoy, just as a reason to sit down and get yourself doing it, get yourself started. All right, so with that said, we'll take a moment to dedicate the entire session today, the entire hour and a half that we've spent together. take a moment and think of whatever dedication you prefer. If it's a Rolls Royce, it's fine. I don't judge. If you want to dedicate the time we've spent here and all the positive energy, all the positive imprints you've made in your mind, if you want to dedicate those, not just to your own benefit, but to the benefit of all sentient beings, all living beings, think of how the time you've spent here helping yourself become a calmer, peaceful, wise person can help you be of more benefit to others every day. So we will be back here next week for session 5. Session 5 is a fun one. We do some good meditations. So hope everybody will come back. And the usual commercial, if you found this beneficial and you decide you want to make a donation to help us keep the lights on and pay the mortgage and all that good stuff, you can do that. We have donation boxes outside. We have ways to donate on our website. So of course that is always completely voluntary, but always helpful if you wish. And if you have any questions, I'll be around here for a couple minutes cleaning up and stuff. You can always ask questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. And if not, then we'll see you next week. Thanks for coming. Have a good week. Thank you, sir.